Welcome back to On the Entrepreneur's Journey. I'm your host, Peter Santry, a former Wall Street exec turned leadership team coach. Each week, I talk with entrepreneurs and business leaders about the strategies and lessons that help companies grow, scale, and build lasting enterprise value. My guest today is Simon Kaye, CEO of Jaguar Freight, a global logistics firm that helps companies navigate the complexities of international shipping and supply chain management. Jaguar has guided clients through some of the toughest challenges in recent years, from COVID disruptions to shifting tariffs and geopolitical uncertainty, while building a reputation for customer centricity and resilience. Simon has also pioneered a work from anywhere model and a strong company culture in a fully remote environment, proving that geography doesn't have to limit performance or collaboration. So welcome to the show, Simon.
Thank you, Peter. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good. Well, let's dive in. I can't imagine a more hair-graying profession in the last 5 years than yours. And, the wild times between COVID, tariffs, global uncertainty. How have you been able to adapt with a remote workforce, and what lessons from those crises still shape how you run the company today?
Gosh, you're starting off with the easy questions.
Right.
Okay, so there was a time pre-COVID when international trade, I think, flew below the radar. It is the glue that keeps the economy going, but very few people know anything about it, or sort of thought about it. And then COVID hit, and people saw ships piling up outside the port of Long Beach, Los Angeles, outside of New York. It was front page New York Times, Wall Street Journal. Everyone suddenly became a supply chain expert, and it's just continued on from there. So, you mentioned tariffs, which is a very hot topic at the moment, but we've had the Red Sea crisis with the Israel-Gaza war, which has created a lot of disruption. Obviously, Ukraine, Russia, and a variety of other things. Problems are our business, whether they're front page news or not. And so I think that whether people are hearing about it, which they are over the last 5 years, or not, in the previous 25 years, in my case, we're always dealing with challenges, whether they be customs, whether it be weather, whether it be theft, whatever it may be. So I think, you need a personality that can stay calm in these situations, both as a leader, but also people within the organization. Problem solving is part of what we do. It's an important part of what we do. And so, we need to be hiring people that, enjoyed doing puzzles when they were kids, and enjoyed solving problems, and are not afraid by that. If you are looking for a stable 9 to 5 position, where the doors open at 9, the doors close at 5, you don't have to think about it again. This isn't the industry for you. So I think it's a mindset, but it's also the way that we lead the organization, and we sort of create a culture where people will rally beneath our flag.
Yeah, that's where I was just going to go with this. Obviously, that's got it. The type of business has to inform the culture that you have and the people you're trying to attract, and the behaviors that you want them to bring with them to work. And so things like curiosity, problem solving, adaptability. How do you work that into your culture? Are those part of your core values in terms of what you stand for?
Yeah, I mean, I think firstly, I have a philosophy of hire for attitude and train for skill, and so finding people with the right attitude, and the right mental state that fits with our organization. So we want people that not just fit into the culture, but can add to the culture as well. I think over the last 32 years, my thinking has evolved, and I'm very much of the mindset that culture is the most important part, not just of our business, but any business.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can have a great product or a great service, but if you have a toxic environment, a toxic culture, it's going to drag the business down.
Mhm.
And the converse is true as well. And hopefully a company with a great culture and maybe with a mediocre product or service can grow that and build that up and punch above its weight. So I think culture is absolutely the most important thing. We have um, what we refer to as 31 fundamentals in our business. So it's what we call the Jaguar way. Um, and it's a whole variety of things that we believe in that make us stronger as an organization, allow us to communicate and work better internally and service our customers better as well. So hiring people that fit those fundamentals and understand what they're all about is really important. And I think this is like the one really important thing from incorporating these fundamentals, which we did about 5 or 6 years ago now, is it provides us with a common language. And so when we say to somebody, were you walking in the client's shoes in that situation? They know exactly what we're talking about.
Right, right.
Um, so
Can you give me another couple of examples? I mean, you got 31 of them, so I'm sure there are a couple that are repeated often. I'd love to hear a few and how that attracts people and maybe repels some other people who might not agree or fit into those values.
Sure, sure. So, I mean, invest in relationships is one. Be process driven. Use
Hmm.
data to make decisions. Be relentless about improvement.
Hmm.
I could go on and on. The last one, and this is an interesting anecdote I'll give to you, is keep things fun. Um, we all take ourselves too seriously, and sometimes we take our business too seriously as well. As one of my very, very large clients in the cosmetic industry said to me many years ago, I have to keep reminding people that we're not shipping little Tommy's new heart. So let's put things in perspective. And anecdotally, only last week, one of my sales guys got a reply from an outreach email that he sent because our fundamentals are part of our email signature and they change every week. So we talk about them every week and we rotate through them. And the response came back from his outreach email that like, I was just about to delete your email and then I saw your fundamental at the bottom of the page and it stopped me in my tracks and you've earned yourself a call. So
Uh,
so that was sort of like nice feedback. I don't know how often that happens and whether we hear about it, but this is the first time I've ever heard back from a prospect in that regard.
yeah, yeah. No, that's great. So, and in addition to the culture, and we've touched on all the uncertainty you face. You're also in a very competitive business. I mean, global trade, shipping, and you're not the biggest firm in the marketplace, but yet you survived for 30 some odd years and have some staying power and made it through all this uncertainty. So how do I'm thinking about how do you position yourself and differentiate yourself so that people continue to do business with you and you're still here and you're still thriving?
Yeah, so I think it's never one thing. It's a combination of things together. So I'm a big believer in people, systems, processes. Incredible people, incredible systems, great processes, but also listening to the customer. Too often we're telling the customer what we think they want and what we think they need, rather than listening to them and understanding what their real challenges are, and coming up with a solution for that. And I think, for us, we're not the biggest and we're absolutely not the cheapest either, but we deliver value. And I think if you can demonstrate value and deliver it on a consistent, constant basis to the customer, that ensures that you have longevity with that client. We have a 90+% client retention rate. People love what we do, they love how we do it. But I think the most important thing, and if I turn a negative into a positive, Peter, is that as I said to you, we're in a problem business. Things will go wrong. It's not a matter of when, but it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah.
Um, and it's then when we prove ourselves the most. It's like we're not hiding. We stand up. If we've created the problem, we put our hand in our pocket. The customer's going to hear from us that there's a problem before they hear from anybody else. So I always sort of like make the comparison. Do do you have a good freight forwarder? It's like, do you have a good insurance broker? You don't know until you have a claim. And when you have a
Right.
claim, that's when you find out if you've got a good insurance broker. And I think it's the same with us. It's like when there are no disruptions and the ships are sailing on time and they're arriving on time and they're clearing through customs, yes, I'm very happy with my provider. It's really when things go wrong that you get to see the value of who it is you're working with. But it's not just that, it's also adding value. And I often say to prospects, if we can't add value to what you're currently doing, we don't want to do business with you. I don't want to put you through the rigmarole of having to change for the status quo.
Right.
So I think, adding value, demonstrating value consistently, and being there when things go wrong.
Right. Right. So you've proved your mettle in the tough times, and therefore you people have comfort. And it sounds like you really listen to your client. And I have heard this now 3 times in the last month. One from one of the founders of Priceline, who said that we formed the company just by going to listening to. It was really the guy would go to the grocery store and talk to moms who were shopping every day to find out what they really needed, and he just listened and listened and listened, and out of it came the system. It was a quite, if you're not listening to your customers, you're not going to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so the customer centricity certainly seems to be doing it. Um, in COVID, it also brought you out of the office. You got rid of your office space. You put everybody home. I can imagine that communication is a central part of keeping this thing moving. If there's a problem, it has to be communicated not only internally but of course to your clients. How have you preserved the intimacy of the communications that you need to have in your organization with a work from anywhere model?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we had a very strong work from home program pre-COVID. So 2, 3 days a week, everyone was working from home. So when I closed the office March 12th, 2020, and sent everyone home, which was supposed to be for 2 weeks, but we know how that worked out. Um, it was like a light switch for us. And we never missed a beat because we had the systems and processes set up. But I think, as we went to a fully remote and fully what I call WFA, work from anywhere model, um, we have to be very deliberate about everything that we do because it's very easy, out of sight, out of mind. So we have a structure every week where we bring everyone together, we keep them informed, and we all share together. And that really keeps the culture strong. So at the beginning of the week, we have a meeting where we share metrics and KPIs and information of what happened the previous week. So
Mhm.
everyone, irrespective of whether they're involved in that particular area of the business or not, understand what's going on. As one of my employees said to me, information is inspiration. So
Mhm.
keeping people informed in a structured way is really important. And at the end of the week, we all get together on Teams for what we call a rose and thorn session, where everyone shares a rose, a positive thing, and a thorn, a negative thing about their week. And it could be personal, it could be business related. So it really allows people to get to hear from people they don't maybe during the course of the week necessarily interact with, and become vulnerable. And that really keeps the culture strong as well because everyone including myself, opens up, and becomes vulnerable, and shows who they are. And we have a really great group that does that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, clearly the Monday meeting, seems to foster the communication at least partially. So you have that going. You're looking at your KPIs, so you know real time kind of how things are working in the beginning of the week. And then I love the vulnerability piece of it. I mean, because that's the foundation of trust. Is if people are vulnerable, then they there's no, it sort of levels the playing field across everybody, and they feel they can share, and that is something that will make a team work very well together if they feel that there aren't barriers to that, trust, and that's fantastic. So I know that growth isn't a straight line, and obviously, COVID and everything else, but I know when we discussed before that, you've had some, areas where you've been offsides with clients, and can you share some of the growth pains of being an entrepreneur in your business?
Yeah, sure. So absolutely, I've been in business for 32 years, and as you rightly say, it's never a straight line. There's a lot of ups and downs along the way. I also always say that it's in the failures and when we fall that we learn the most.
Yes.
When we win, we become a little bit arrogant. Think we walk on water, which none of us do. But it's really when we fail that we become humble and look inside ourselves and look around the organization and see how did this happen and how can we avoid this in the future. I think one of the biggest um, hits that we took was when we lost our largest client in 2017. So from the beginning of Jaguar, from 1993, we had a very prestigious cosmetic client, Elizabeth Arden. We grew and grew with them over the years. They became an anchor account for us, and then more so. And we always knew that it was a risk. Um, Having so much business with one particular client. But it was, we were victims of our own success, and the better we were, the more business they gave us, and we always try to dilute it. But I refer to it or compare it to sort of like walking up a down escalator, and just the quicker we ran up, the quicker the escalator, started coming down. So it was if we knew it was a problem. Certainly didn't do enough to dilute the business and our reliance. But at its peak, they were probably more than 50% of our business. In 2016, they were acquired by Revlon, and in the
Always an easy company to deal with,
yes,
by the way.
tell me
So
about it.
personal experience there myself, but go on.
Okay. Well, so then in May 2017, despite assurances from senior management, um, Revlon came to us and said, effectively, thanks, but no thanks. And you've got 8 weeks, and we're turning everything off, which they did. And it could have taken us down. It was an enormous hit to the business. Um, However, within 6 months, and by the way, at the time, I thought it was the worst thing that could ever and had ever happened to us. And hindsight's 2020. Going forward, it was the best thing that ever happened to us, because by the end of the year, we'd actually replaced all the volume of business through a variety of different clients and new business. So we diversified significantly, um, and we became a much stronger organization. Um, but I could have folded, both emotionally, and business wise. But I think it's not how many times you get knocked down. It's how many times you stand up and go forwards. And I think
Yeah,
that's one of my biggest learnings.
let me dig in there a little bit, because there are not many people who can say, yeah, 8 weeks, 50% of my business is going to walk, and then say, but I survived, replaced it just in time. So tell us a little bit about, obviously it could have been serendipity or luck or whatever you want to call it, but you obviously had the wherewithal to absorb that, at least in the short term. So, tell us about, and did you plan, did you have a lot of cash on hand? What was it that allowed you to survive that event?
Yeah, I mean, I think you say serendipity and you say luck, and I'm a big believer in both, but I'm also a big believer in like you make your own luck.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think what happened was that fortuitously or not, a number of the things that we had been working on previously over the previous months and years started to come to fruition, and started to to develop. So as we lost the Arden business, other stuff came on, started flourishing and breaking and coming on board. And I have to say I have a great team. We put a disaster plan in place. I I can't say that we didn't cut staff because we had to cut
Of
staff.
course.
But we worked with those staff and ensured that they were placed in other places and they landed on their feet. And in some instances, we actually hired back some of the people that we had let go. Um, but I think it's sort of gaining focus on what's important, what needs to be done, and not losing focus. I'm a member of Vistage, which I can't remember
As
if
am
you're.
I.
Right, that's right. You're also
Yeah.
Vistage, right? So Vistage sort of like helped me through this very difficult period, or my peer group in Vistage helped me through it and gave me a lot of good advice and direction. But there's one particular Vistage member who I always reference. It wasn't in this particular situation, but it happened previously when I had another challenge in the business. Um, when I was moaning about it at a Vistage group, he effectively put his finger in my face and he said to me in very clear terms, 30 seconds. You have 30 seconds to feel sorry for yourself, and then you get up and you get on and you start working.
Yeah.
And that always stuck with me.
Yeah.
And so I'm not one to sit around and lick my wounds.
Yes. Yes.
And you know,
It's funny with when you're an entrepreneur and the rear view mirror, you got to leave everything in the rear view mirror because there's only forward, and sometimes it's just okay, we just got sacked for a big loss and now it's let's try to get the first down again. Let's move forward and that's great advice. And obviously the fact that you came out of that as quickly as you did and your business development efforts were not fallow. Fortunately for you, you
mm,
obviously had enough liquidity to, yes, you had to rein your expenses in, obviously, but you did have enough liquidity to tide you over at least until cash flow started to come back in, and all those things. So again, you make your luck, but having the business must have been in good shape enough so that you didn't have to fold. I mean, that's
yeah, I will say one other thing as a piece of advice to listeners. You know, banks want to lend you money when you don't need it.
yes,
And when you do need it, they're not there. And so one of my strategies has always been to continually increase our line of credit with the bank, irrespective of whether we need it or not, or whether it's justified or not. So when the tough times come, we have resources that we can that we can lean into. I always say that they want to give you an umbrella while the sun's shining. As soon as it starts raining, they want their umbrella back.
right,
And so my advice to anyone out there is like, if you're doing well, get the biggest line of credit you can against your business, because it's there's going to be a time when you're going to need it,
yes, yes,
and the banks won't lend it to you or
yes,
give it to you when you need it.
yes, I know. And it could be a recession or it could be we're all capable of shooting ourselves in the foot too. So we never know when it's going to come, and you're absolutely right about that. So let's tack away and think about you're a business owner, you're 32 years into this. Obviously there's an end game at some point. What are you doing to grow the enterprise value of Jaguar at this point, to make it more valuable, to prepare it for whatever the end game is for you? And I can't pretend I know, and I don't know if you even know at this point, but are you working on that aspect of your business at all?
Yeah, so we have a what we refer to as a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal to
Mhm.
grow the business. So we want to grow the business 10x, and I say 10x to the power of three. So what does that mean? We want to grow the business 10x bottom line, not top line. We want to go 10x profit because it's the bottom line that matters. not really the top line.
Right.
So we're focused on growing the bottom line 10x over the next 10 years. To the power of three means profit, 10 years average employee tenure, and 10 years average client tenure as well. So everything we do is for the long term, and we have the long term in mind. So, we're working diligently on growing the client base, expanding the business. We're going through a huge tech transformation at the moment, which we're looking to implement in January 2026. And investing in staff and employees to grow their competency as well. So that's sort of like how I'm looking to increase the value of the business.
Hmm.
With regards to an exit strategy, I always say that I have two sons and Jaguar is my third child. So I'm not really looking at a sale or an exit per se. I'm definitely playing with the ESOP route as a potential way of sort of like having the employees um, invested in the business. Um, but at the moment, this is both my business and my hobby. I love what I do, and can't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah, well, if if it's successful and you enjoy doing it and it provides great income to you, there's no real reason to. But I also heard something in there, 10 years average in customer, so you're looking to lengthen or at least preserve and lengthen the sort of customer relationship with you, and that will always provide more certainty around your cash flow if you can have. I mean, granted, I'm sure the fluctuations in the revenue from each client changes, but still, if you have that base that stays with you every year, it certainly increases the value of the company, even if it's not contractual. So that's certainly one piece as well, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean client retention, and we target what we refer to as account clients rather than transactional. So
Mhm.
we're not looking to pick up a few shipments here and there from anywhere. We're really looking, and I know it's cliched, but to partner with our clients to really add value to their supply chain and work with them for many, many years. I mean, I mentioned Elizabeth Arden earlier, but we worked with Elizabeth Arden for 23 years. Which is a company of our size is almost unheard of. And we saw a number of mergers and acquisitions that Arden were involved with over the years, where they were bought and sold, and we were the constant there. So that's what we're looking to do with all of our clients.
Right, right, right. So let's jump into the current environment because it's as crazy as ever. And I don't suppose you have a crystal ball that's any better than mine, but as you look forward in the international trade situation, we've moved from a sort of a free trade or more free trade world to one where there's spheres of influence and certainly tariffs and barriers are being erected. What do you foresee for your business? And obviously you're trying to 10x the profitability, so there has to be some growth to do that. You can't just do it on margins alone. But what do you see for your business going forward in this environment?
Look, there's no question that tariffs have created and injected a lot of chaos and uncertainty into not just our industry, but into the economy in general, and trade in general. Um, I think that in the short term, it's challenging because most a good percentage of our business is US based. So US import business, and US imports are suffering because of tariffs. Our strategy is to expand our trade lanes, and develop those areas that are sort of like outside of the US. So, Asia to South and Central America, Asia to Europe, Europe to South and Central America. So different trade lanes that aren't necessarily or aren't impacted by US tariff and US trade policy.
Hmm.
Um, So I think sort of like in the short to medium term, that's what we're looking at and continuing to develop. And we operate in those trade lanes, but we want to sort of like double down on them. Not to say by any stretch of the imagination that we're giving up on the US economy. I mean, it's an enormous market and largest consumer base in the world. So, we're very much focused on that. Um, but I think that, if, and I think it's an enormous if, but if we see manufacturing come back to the United States, and the US is a manufacturer again in the future, then our exports cargo grows, our export business grows.
Yeah.
Trade doesn't disappear, trade just moves. And we've seen this over the years, different origin points, whether it be the Middle East, or whether it be Eastern Europe or Southeast Asia. Trade moves around. The world, we're always going to trade. It's just a matter of what those trade lanes are. And so from my business and my perspective, it's sort of like we need to have our ear close to the ground, our finger on the pulse to ensure that we're operating in those trade lanes that are growing, as opposed to shrinking.
Yeah. And that's where the customer relationship is key, because that's where the information comes from.
That's right, and that's where listening to the customer is like, where's the customer going? Where are they selling to? Where are they buying from?
Yeah.
So that's where we have a very very strong client relationship team that meets with our clients on a regular basis, has monthly and quarterly business reviews with them, and it's not just about telling them what's happened; it's listening to what they're doing and what their planning is for the future.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I can't leave this subject behind either, because it's affecting every industry, and that's AI. And
Mm.
how is that affecting your business? I mean, I think I heard, one person the other day tell me that, first you have to figure out if AI is going to make you extinct or not. And once you get over that hurdle, then it's okay, how can we use it to, make it an asset for us and increase revenue or reduce expense or whatever it might be. How is that manifesting for you?
Yeah, so I think we've always been a tech-enabled company. I think I said when I started the business back in '93, I realized very very quickly that we weren't in the shipping and transportation business, we're in the information business. We've developed our own tech over the years. So we're very much tech enabled. We have task forces within the company that are focused on AI and where it can add value. I strongly believe that AI isn't going to replace us. Um, we'll find out whether I'm right or wrong on that. But certainly, if we're not using AI, we will be replaced,
Yeah.
or our business will be replaced.
Right.
So, we're definitely exploring in small use cases where AI works, and where it can add value. We have a sort of like a strategy of what we refer to as peopleless growth, but it's not really peopleless growth. It's sort of less people being able to handle more and more business, and obviously technology, whether it be AI or automation or and any other form of technology, enhances that. So allowing our people to do more with the same, is very much how we're focused on it. So I'm not looking to replace people, but I'm looking to use technology to enhance how our people operate and do their jobs.
Yeah. I hear you. Okay. Well, thank you for your time, Simon. If somebody wants to explore getting to know Jaguar Freight, or getting in touch with you, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Sure. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so they can definitely look me up and connect with me, Simon Kaye, Kaye, on LinkedIn. Jaguarfreight.com is our website, so go check us out there. And I always say that we don't necessarily need to be doing business, but if you want to use us as a resource, we're happy to help and give support and direction to anyone in international trades, and use us as a sounding board. So, always happy to help. I'm a big believer in paying it forward.
Yeah, great. Well, you've been generous with your time today, and to your wisdom to our audience, so we appreciate that as well. So thank you for that. And until next time, we will see you on the entrepreneur's journey. So thanks, Simon.
Thank you very much, Peter.